Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode number 120 of the TXR Podcast, your favorite place for gaming and news discussion on another Saturday night. I'm your host, Invader, and we've got another outstanding show on the docket, and I hope everybody listening in had a fantastic weekend. Obviously, Valentine's Day was leading into the weekend, and I hope all of our listeners treated their special someone to a really good time. Now, without further delay, let me introduce the panel members for tonight. Megatron. Hey, bud, how's things at your end?
What's going on, everyone? Things are okay. Hanging in there. Ending the weekend with some gaming talk. That's it.
You sound good, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks to your recommendations on the new microphone. I think that helped out a lot.
With a voice like that, I think I could listen to him read from the phone book.
You do sound really good. That's Jeremy recommended a good mic for you, but that sounds really sharp. All right. Speaking of which, Jeremy, hey, I know you really wanted to touch on our first topic this evening, but first, how have you been?
Good, man. How is everybody doing?
Doing good.
Good. That's great. Hey, happy birthday to my buddy Centurion. And Centurion, I'm just kidding. I didn't forget about your birthday. I'm sending you a gift card right now for $25, and it's in your message. I was just kidding, by the way.
I was gonna say you don't gotta do that, man. Oh my god.
That's too bad. I just sent you it. It's in your message right now, buddy. So happy birthday.
Look at that.
Thank you. Wow.
Happy birthday to you.
Yes.
See, I'm glad you got Megatron that new mic to sing happy birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey,
pop out a cake right now. Surprise. Large hairy man jumping out of a cake.
Too good. And we have the birthday boy here, Centurion. Hey, how's your day going on your special occasion?
Oh, pretty good. Just hung out with the wife all day. Been hanging out with friends on Xbox and didn't want to miss TXR for the world because who doesn't want to talk about games with you guys?
Well, apparently Tim, Southbound, and Shock doesn't want to, so.
Well, I still love you all.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we'll keep an eye on them. Tim, Shock, and Southie may not be here with us, but hey, we still got a good foursome going on here this evening, and we'll just stick with that for now. But yeah, we got some people just filing in right now. Born Distracted, how are you doing, buddy? Logic Wins, looking forward to this one. Yeah, me too, definitely. We got some really good topics this evening. And you know what? Let's dive right into this, onto our first topic. And you know what? This weekend, we had opened up to us the Bleeding Edge beta, the upcoming multiplayer-focused title from Ninja Theory. It's definitely created a lot of discussion, and a few members of the panel got a chance to play it. So, guys, let's share our impressions on this game. What do you guys think of it?
Yeah, barely got a chance to play it.
You just started? How many did you get to play it at least for a few hours?
I did the... What was it? The tutorial for a bit, and then the ish hit the fan over the weekend, so I just really couldn't focus. And then I got a chance to also play with Invader right before the show, about an hour ago. And it was cool. The teamwork. Once you get into the teamwork side of things, when we're all working together, it made it really fun. Outside of that, it's just still, I don't think I put enough time to really give it like my full thumbs up. So, but I enjoy what I played with it so far. So I'm off tomorrow, so definitely jumping in.
I had very high expectations, going in. Obviously, Ninja Theory was making it, so I knew going in from previous entries that the combat and controls, sound design, art direction, all that stuff, was going to be top notch. And they are, however, Bleeding Edge is missing that special IT, I think, which makes battle royale games successful. I think if you look at Fortnite, you know, it'd be the gameplay or something like that. I don't know if you guys like Fortnite, but Apex, it would probably be the speed and level design. And for PUBG, it's probably like, you know, the intensity of the firefights and some of the gameplay elements that revolve around those, you know, those firefights. And then, you know, you have Overwatch, which would be, it's great for its level design and its great characters. And I think the characters kind of flesh out the world. So Bleeding Edge kind of doesn't have any of that, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't have that IT. So in order, for, you know, for to be a successful battle royale game in today's very saturated market, it needs to do one thing really well, and I think it doesn't have it. You know, and I always refer back to you know, the old Halo multiplayer maps, because Halo set the bar, if you guys don't remember, in terms of iconic multiplayer maps and gameplay. And you can see what maps do to game, you know, the gameplay element in general. The original Halo was a very slow experience. You guys remember, but the maps made it to where it ended up being a very fast-paced experience that was exciting. Whether it was the power-ups and weapon placement, or just, you know, it's just the simple geometry of the way the map was structured, made Halo a very successful franchise, you know. So yeah, there is something left to be desired with Bleeding Edge. They won't fix these issues before March 24th, which is the release date. So it's going to have to be later. Is Bleeding Edge a bad game? It's not a bad game. It is a good game, but yes, unfortunately, just a good game is going to be left behind in today's market. And I don't know what you guys think, but I'd like to hear what Invader has to say and Centurion has to say about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say, like, my impressions of the game, I've played about let's say 10 or 15, maybe even 20 multiplayer matches of it. So I have I would like to think that I have a decent understanding of it, and I went through all the characters just to test them out, and there's definitely characters that I did like. I liked the I call him the snake guy, Kulev. He's more the ranged character. I find that in this game, obviously it's very melee focused. They do have some ranged characters. The issue is the ranged characters, they don't even have that much range to them. Like, yeah, there's not that much, I would say. Like, you do have support characters, you do have these ranged characters, but to me there's not as much diversity in the gameplay that I would like to see personally, to mix it up a bit, because it just seems like it's all focused on just getting right in there.
Well, would you agree that the ranged characters kind of feel like you know, the impact of the bullets and stuff like that doesn't feel like you're doing anything. It's strange.
Well, as far as Gizmo, I want to say like that's the one I'm kind of, you know, leaning towards for right now. She's the one I got to play the most. And I think I guess she's got like a Gatling gun or something, and it slowly starts to pick up in speed, but it doesn't feel like it's doing that much damage. It feels like it's limited. It's more of a support type character. So
I think they're gonna get, you know, they're gonna do a few things to kind of sharpen up the game a little bit before launch hits. But again, the speed of the game needs to change. And I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the pace of the game is very, very slow, especially when you're out in the open and you're not using the hoverboard. I think the pace is very slow. So I think you know, this combat is good. I like the pairing aspect, and the controls are amazing. You know, however, I don't think it's enough to throw it over the edge where people are going to play it. So
Absolutely. And you know what, Stag Gorilla in the chat, obviously Stags from the Shop Podcast with Centurion. Very good guy here. He's in the comments and he's just saying, from the videos I've seen, it looks like the characters move slowly and it just feels like it's an oversaturated market anyways, the type of game that it is. And I have to agree that with Jeremy and with Stag in the chat, that I do feel like even with the hoverboards, it feels kind of slower than what it needs to be, because with a melee focus kind of a game, you want to get right in there, you want to dish out as much damage, you want to get to the objectives as quick as possible, and I just don't feel like there's enough speed to the characters. In fact, all of them, to be honest.
And you know what, you can remedy that by kind of shortening up these maps. If you look at Overwatch is a slow game. It's a slow paced game. However, the maps, like in Halo, offer kind of this unique experience to where it's still kind of like not claustrophobic, but what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe condensed. But it's so tight.
More enclosed corridors.
Yeah, it's so tight, and like you said, that it creates a faster experience. That's not, it's not as fast game. So I want to hear what Centurion has to say, but
I've been kind of sitting back, listening to everybody, taking it all in, because I like to give every Xbox game a fair chance, considering what this gen has been like. Is it going to be a 90 Metacritic? I probably don't think so. Is it going to be a dumpster fire? Probably not as well. It's a good game. Me and my friends had a good time playing it. There's high points and there's low points. It's something they can obviously fix over time, like Sea of Thieves, but I want to definitely say that, for starters, it's a great game. I've had fun playing it.
Wait. Okay, what's a great game? That's kind of a heavy word. Is it a good game or a great game? There's a difference between the two.
Okay. It's a good game. It's not mind-blowing.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to sit there and say it's the best thing since, sliced bread. But being an Overwatch fan, I can see similarities that I don't want to say bothered me, but when I first heard about this IP, Bleeding Edge, I was expecting this new glorious idea, and now it just, in some ways, feels like somebody played a game or two of Overwatch, and they decided that they wanted to create a game on the same grounds. And for me, I just want to see, I don't like the fact that there's only two modes, for starters. There's only two modes. Once you've played either one of the modes, eventually it gets very repetitious, especially when you play certain modes over and over again in a row.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about the damage capabilities of characters to really know how much damage they put out, go try to get those canisters for the power cells with characters. Some characters will tear through them. Other characters, it feels like you're chopping away.
Yeah, you'd have to wait there all day for them to
explode. I also see other characters that need to be buffed. I see other characters that need to be nerfed. Stuff like that can definitely get fixed over time. But one thing that can definitely, it's a great concept, but the story I've read the bios on all the characters. I'm really not too sure of how the story works in this game. Did they put the bios there just to say that there was a story? Man, like I said, it's not a horrible game. It's a good game. I've had fun playing it, but
now, when you were playing Centurion, did you play with a group of 4 friends, or you were playing with different randoms? Or
see, I've played both. I've played with 3. I was lucky enough to play with Tim Dog and Downer for 2 or 3 matches last night, and then today I played a few matches by myself with random people. some person that was yelling at somebody the entire time. It puts you, just so everybody knows, it puts you in like group chat automatically. So I wasn't ready for it, and you hear someone start yelling, it kind of freaks you out because you're like, "What the hell was that?" But then I got to play with my buddy and his kid for a few rounds. It does make a big difference when you play with people. When you're playing with randoms, everybody's wanting to. Come on, nobody was talking to each other. Every single match that I played, come on, the guy had his microphone open. He was holding a conversation with someone else in the room with him, and not even the people that were playing the game.
Not even blinking an eye and putting it on mute.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's gonna be some issues with people that want to try to play the game solo. At least with Overwatch, the teams are so big that you can actually have one person playing by themselves while the other people are picking up the slack cooperatively. But in Bleeding Edge, I feel like there's a massive cooperative scale. That's why I was kind of curious on you calling it a battle royale. Is it actually declared about a battle royale?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say battle royale. I would say,
to me, it's more of an arena fighter.
It is.
Yeah,
I
see that.
Well, going to game types, and they should add in probably a mode where you're just one versus everyone, like everyone's out for themselves. Just I can see that happening. But
dude, like every time I tried to go off by myself, and literally all of a sudden, all four members of the other
forget about it,
dude. All four members would be like, "Oh, look, that dumbass is by himself. Get him."
Yeah, every time you're gonna die. That's what Invader was telling me early when we were playing, and there was times where I was left for a second, and I guess we have this one character that goes like cloaked, and out of nowhere, I mean, I felt like I was so slow to even get away from the guy. I was using Gizmo that I couldn't. I was just stuck. That was if you're not fast enough, you're not going to make it no matter what, man. And next thing you know, I had like 3 guys around me, and within just a few seconds, I was down and out.
Well, and you can't even get on your hoverboard or the thing you got to do to go faster, because if you try to do anything and you get shot, it interrupts it. And no, there's been many a times where you're trying to run away and you're just completely ran down.
Now, would you guys agree too that the 4 players on each side versus the map size, it doesn't fit? It's maybe it was 5 players. But I think that the 4 players, I think that's why it feels slower than it is, because the 4 players that are offered on each side kind of bogs the game down to where it seems slower than it actually is, and the maps are just huge. I don't know what you guys.
The maps are big.
There was times I was depositing power cells at some of the points, and none of the opposing teammates were anywhere near me.
Yep, exactly. And some of these revolving, waypoints that you have to pick up too. I noticed that right away, where I was there left on by myself for like at least, a good 10 seconds, which is a long time for these types of games, where someone would come and try to block what I was doing, which is a very long time. 10 seconds is an outrageously long period of time before gameplay elements you're allowed to do something. So I don't know.
I get the feeling that the maps were a bit overthought, because I find that, Jeremy, you had alluded to Halo earlier, right? With its map design, and going back to even the original Halo, it had the simplest concepts for maps. I think even some of their best maps were made within a day. Their most iconic maps. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the map creator works at Undead Labs now, of the original Halo and Halo 2. I think is up at Undead Labs right now.
Yeah, I believe so. And it's like, I believe they had 3 different maps in this beta. There was an Aqueduct one. I forget what the other one was. And then there was like a Sky Garden one. And usually, for a memorable experience, one sticks out. And personally, it's not that they looked bad. I mean, they all looked kind of nice. Like, they all looked really sharp, nice details. I didn't really get a sense of, oh man, I can't wait to play on this map again. I'm having a lot of fun on this. It's just, I didn't really get a lot out of them personally.
And that's the problem when it doesn't make up in gameplay. You need to have those iconic maps, and it just doesn't. Overwatch has a few maps that are just people
I feel
love
like it
playing
was
them.
cycling between like like one or two of the same map constantly,
Yeah.
and then it would throw in like, is there only like 3 maps or is there more? Because I mean, like I feel like
did they
kept
announce
playing the same maps over and over again.
Did they announce they're going to be? Did they give a
Well, no,
total
there's going to
amount?
be more maps. I think the beta just threw out these 3 maps, but they have to have it.
They have to have more maps. No, that's a guarantee. That's a guarantee that
Yeah.
they'll have more maps. I don't have the information, or I'm not sure if
Now-
they've unveiled that yet. But
Do you
I
see
mean-
like a story mode? Because here's the funny part. A lot of people don't realize that there's actually sometimes a story mode to Overwatch. It's
Yeah.
just done during special events.
Yep.
And it's done in pieces. And I'm kind of curious if they're going to do something on the same level with Bleeding Edge. Is there going to be events where that kind of explains some of the story behind it? Because unless you read the bios, like Damon or Demon, however you want to pronounce it, he's actually the creator of Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, and we hope so, because when you do those kinds of things, it kind of fleshes out the world, and it gives the characters personalities, which is, again, it's needed in these types of games. So we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Has anybody in the chat played Bleeding Edge yet? Hey, Paris, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us. Again, wonderful show with Phil the other week. Awesome stuff. We got Shizno Elite joining us. You know what, Shiz? It's Bleeding Edge. It is fun in a lot of ways, but it's just there's things like there's little nitpicks that just kind of add up personally that we're talking about, and it's not that it can't be fun. It's just there are things that we need to see them like definitely adjust, whether it be the speed in the game and so on, damage, and just see what else they have to offer for this game.
So what are the game types really quick? Is it just territories, and what's the other one? I have to ask because like I said earlier,
Yeah, there's capture control the point, and then there's the power cells where you just
I'm sure there's going to be more So, but I think Ninja Theory was in a unique position to kind of do their own thing as far as this genre goes, and I think they missed the mark. But we'll see when the final game comes out, and not that it can't be over time. Go ahead, Centurion.
I was just want to say I hope it doesn't turn into. Sadly, it's the one thing that I love. Sea of Thieves. We all know how Downer feels about Sea of Thieves. I enjoy playing it with my wife. It's a great game.
Yeah.
But there is one problem with Sea of Thieves. There's playing Sea of Thieves by yourself, and there's playing Sea of Thieves with your friends, and they're two totally different experiences. Mm-hmm. And that's why I feel like with Bleeding Edge, there's going to be Bleeding Edge by yourself, and then there's going to be Bleeding Edge with your friends.
Definitely.
Well, not that this game can be a great experience without friends. I mean, you can get matchmake with some nice people where you kind of stay, you kind of create a party with each other and stay in that party for a while.
Well, in the beta, you can't that's the thing. In the beta, unless you guys actually group up, the minute that match is over with, it closes that match out and sends you right back to the screen, which basically restarts matchmaking.
You know what's funny about
group up, you get put in another random group.
Well, what's funny about that is we did that, and the next match there was somebody from the same group before that was in the match with us. So I don't know if it was just a coincidence, but
no, it kept every time when I was playing by myself, every time a match would end, it would go right to the main title screen, and you'd have to start matchmaking right over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Hassan made a comment. He said, "I did. It's a teamwork game. The moment you are outnumbered by one, you are done." And you know what? I noticed that too, Hassan. As soon as like there's only one or two of you, and you're surrounded by the other team, you're toast. Like I don't even think like any special abilities would do anything. Like you're just kind of toast. Like they'll just come at you, charge at you, and you can parry all you want, but It won't do very much good, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can't parry when you're getting jumped by like 3 other players.
Yeah. And guys, the art style is pretty interesting too. I look at it and I'm like, as soon as I get to the home screen, I'm just like, that's Sunset Overdrive.
Oh no, the art style looks great on it. I think
Yeah.
it's a good, clean looking game. I mean, has a lot of potential. Has a lot of potential. You can just
Yeah.
tell this is Ninja Theory's first crack at a game genre like this, and so it's going to be a work in progress.
Mhm. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I appreciate Ninja Theory trying different things. Obviously, they have 2 or 3 games on the go right now. And I'm glad this game was allowed to come to fruition, and I hope that it does develop into something, unique that the community rallies behind. And we'll see. It comes out March 24th, if I'm not mistaken, so pretty soon. I just hope that they address the things that we're talking about, and I hope that they have more content in the line and down the line, right? So
Yeah. And I played with somebody that was there from the alpha originally, and they said between the alpha and the beta there wasn't really much that was changed, which is kind of concerning. I think I played with Tim and a couple other people who were in the alpha, and they said the game hasn't changed much since then.
Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough to see what improvements they make. Again, just a month away, fellas. Not too long to wait for Bleeding Edge. And I guess you have a few more hours to go until the beta is down. So, hey, definitely get in there while you can. All right, fellas, we will move on to another interesting bit of news, another topic. And recently, Samsung unveiled its new Galaxy S20 and Z flip phones. At their event, they talked about different partnerships, including Microsoft on the gaming front.
Mhm.
David Park, Samsung's director of strategy, said on stage that the company is working with Xbox on a premium cloud-based streaming service, and that this is the beginning of our gaming partnership with Xbox.
Yeah.
As Forza Street was announced that it will be available for the Galaxy devices. So pretty interesting move. Guys, clearly we got a collaboration of sorts going on here between the two companies. What do you make of it? Because Microsoft just, they just wouldn't throw, like, even if it is a small Forza title, no matter how small it is, what size, on just any kind of phone platform. So what are your thoughts?
It's a win-win for both parties, Invader, because Samsung, I think I have it right here, the number. Samsung has a 19% market share, with almost 300 units, 300 million units sold. And that number is increasing, obviously, with amazing tech. I mean, you see it. They're setting the bar with, that new S20. I don't know if you guys have seen that new S20, but it's an absolute beast.
It is. It's amazing.
And that Ultra is going to run you about $1,400. But in order for Xbox to make a dent in Sony's world dominance as far as market share, market share, I think it was a great move. Why? I'll give you, a couple of reasons, but I think people are missing the bigger picture than just cell phones. When you think of Samsung, you also think of television. And I think there's a unique opportunity there with its TV division and the application that can somehow be integrated into Samsung's operating system. So I think that's the primary reason why Xbox went to Samsung. I think there's an opportunity there with the TVs. So not to mention the Apple platform is just much more restrictive when it comes to approving applications and doing certain things, to where Android has much more freedom to do those kinds of things. Now, imagine where you can buy a Samsung TV, and the Xbox application for cloud streaming is already installed in some of the newer generations of TV. I think there's a unique opportunity there to where Samsung has a deep market share as opposed to Sony, or Apple, or any other TV brand or cell phone brand. So
This isn't the first time Xbox has teamed up with Samsung.
yeah,
When the Xbox One X hadn't even been released yet, I was lucky enough to be near one of the Best Buys that were doing the demos of the Xbox One X before it launched. And one of the stipulations were to do those demos, it had to be hooked up to a Samsung QLED, at least the ones in my area. I don't know about other places, but the Samsung QLED was also marketed with the Xbox One X and vice versa. I remember there was deals at Best Buy where you could buy a Samsung QLED. Not QLED. Oh, yeah, it was QLED. It was QLED.
It's QLED.
Where you could buy the QLED and the console, the Xbox One X, together in a package deal. So this isn't the first time they've worked together. I'm really curious on what they're going to come up with as a result of this partnership, and I feel like Downer kind of hit the nail on the head. We could be seeing the Xbox, the XCloud app popping up on things like televisions, cell phones, tablets, and other Samsung devices that are capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely sounded bad. You said it perfectly, Downer, and I just think they're going to make that alignment where when you think Samsung, you think Xbox, and you don't be surprised if you see that you see HDR, you see 4K, and you have that Xbox logo on that box, and that's going to do a lot with marketing. And there's a popular brand, whether it be the cell phones or the TVs, pull that all into that ecosystem too. And that's what they're doing. I think that's what they're going to go and try and do. I think it's a great move.
Absolutely. And like you look at, Samsung is really going after Apple too here, because obviously you look at the strategic partnerships here with companies, with different strengths. Obviously, Apple has its own internal ecosystem. So teaming up with, Xbox, Samsung and Xbox Game Studios makes a lot of sense. Xbox has a strong gaming infrastructure, game lineup. You look at Samsung, they don't really have that. They don't have the strengths of Apple. They don't have the their app store, their Apple Arcade. They don't have what obviously what Apple has. So with them forming all these different unions, these different partnerships and collaborations, it makes a lot of sense for their platform. And really, it's very, very interesting to see Xbox and Samsung just come together like this. And you guys just wait, because I believe there's a quote somewhere stating that we'll learn more about the details of this partnership like later in the year. And I have a feeling it has to do with the official Xbox XCloud launch. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I have to agree with Downer here, because I could definitely see them have a very heavily integrated premium service for the XCloud, whether it be in the TVs and the phones and so on. They could really be onto something here, especially with expanding their reach. And like you said, Downer, too, Apple, I mean, we'll get into it soon, but like Apple's just known like their policies, their stores it can be a little strict at times. It can be a little funny. So with them partnering with Samsung, it kind of makes a lot of sense too, with having a strong strategic partner that way.
Well, if I can also kind of shamelessly hype myself, you guys remember that video that I did on the mystery slot on the Series X, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
that was involving something that was actually a proprietary thing through Samsung, and now all of a sudden Samsung is Microsoft Xbox's partner. I'm just like, well, as far-fetched as my theory is, you still can't downplay it, because now Samsung could have shared that technology with Xbox.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. That's interesting.
Oh, it is very interesting. And you know what? It'll be interesting to see, what comes out further down the line, down the, in the upcoming months once we learn more about XCloud and and its expanding services and so on. It goes on to more platforms. But again, it's interesting that they're taking this, a Windows 10 title, Forza Street, and putting it on there onto the Galaxy phones. I can just imagine what other titles that we'll see crossing over as well. So, but speaking of crossing over into other platforms and whatnot, we're gonna go and branch onto some more XCloud related news. And Project XCloud has now been expanding its testing to iOS devices, specifically iPhone and iPad. Now, because some policies, as we were talking earlier, Apple there's certain policy tweaks to appease Apple. Only one game at the moment is available, and that's the Halo Master Chief Collection
which is bizarre. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't, to be honest, but.
It is kind of weird that only like one game out of 50 to 60 games of the Master Chief collection of all of them. But so it is kind of funny there. But a few panel members have Apple devices. I mean, I'm still waiting to get in here, but Jeremy, I know you got in, and you even put up a small video over Twitter about your XCloud experience with it. What do you think?
So I was able to try both operating systems, iOS and Android. When I signed up, it was just a matter of flipping the switch, and I got the email within a good hour to try iOS support. From a functionality standpoint, both play the same, and I can't really give an edge over the other one. The problem with iOS again is it's so restrictive, which is why it takes so long to get some of these apps up and running, it's just. But Apple's also trying to make headwind in the industry with the launch of Apple Arcade. So I don't know if that plays a factor, but it's definitely. I think it kind of hinders the Apples in terms of getting.
You think they're going to take it a little bit slower on the approval?
They always. I mean, for anyone who knows Apple, it's just a slow process. Even
I just mean on the aspect of the games though side of things. Like maybe we'll take a little bit more time to approve this app, and so we can push out forward. Like, that's what I mean. Like I wonder.
So playing on iOS is a little bit different than and again, I've tried both of them. It's a little bit different than playing on a Samsung device. Samsung devices offer a higher resolution. I think the resolutions is 25 nits higher than what the iPhone offers, which isn't a huge difference. So it just depends on preference, really, because both of these phones are going to have 5G sooner or later. So it just depends on preference. And I think I'm going to be moving to Android here shortly. That S20 Ultra is looking mighty fine right now. So I think I might jump on that Samsung bandwagon.
Yeah, definitely. Even I'm considering it like that. That new S20. Oh, that looks really sweet. Not gonna lie. And I do like my Apple products, I'll admit, but it's tempting. It's very tempting.
You only knew what I do with my Note 9.
What?
No, I mean, like, I use my Note 9 for everything when it comes to content creation. That phone has just amazed me what it's capable of. Like when it comes to altering images, creating cutouts, all sorts of stuff. Like I use my phone to sometimes make thumbnails.
Nice. You guys are big time. I'm still rocking the 8, man. I still got my Note 8. I usually try to go 3. I try to keep it for, I like to go 3 years before I like renew my phone to get another one.
And you should. Note 8 is a very comparable piece of hardware.
I normally go that long too. My Note 9 is going on 2 years old here pretty soon,
They're getting-
and
they're
I
getting
got it as
pricey,
a
man.
result of
And
yeah, I got
Megatron,
mine.
yeah, Megatron's not like you can't do with what Centurion's doing. You
Mhm.
can do the same thing on a Note 8 than you can on a Note 9 for the most part. So it's just it's up to the applications, and again, the applications are a lot less restrictive on Android as opposed to the iOS. iOS is very heavy in-app purchases. Yeah,
Mhm.
so is Android, but you have a little bit more flexibility with the Android, the applications in there where, you don't have to pay for some of the functionality features inside the apps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed our friend Paris, he over at Gamertag Radio, he fired up his new iPad Pro and he had tried out the iCloud beta for iOS, or sorry, XCloud beta for iOS, and he seemed like pretty overall, like pretty positive. I think he made the comment that it was a little bit on the laggy side. I could be mistaken, but otherwise, I mean, it looked good. Like the video that I was seeing, like it looks very impressive. Just even if it is like very early on the testing, like when I saw just the Master Chief Collection fired up, looks
Yeah.
beautiful. Looks beautiful. Like I can't wait to jump right into that myself whenever.
And like I
get
said, it's the resolutions is a little bit sharper on the Android devices, just for the clarity and brightness of the actual screen. So there's not that much difference between the two.
Well, again, with Apple's policies, I really hope that they open up more games, because even though the Master Chief Collection, it is like a massive collection of Halo games, you're going to want to try some other stuff out. It's very limiting. I'm still confused as to why they only have the one game out of the entire library on there.
Bizarre. I don't know why. It doesn't make much sense.
It was, I don't know. It's kind of like, when Larry Herb was mentioning this, like I don't think he wanted to go into detail about why it was just the one game, but Apple's policies apparently.
Yeah, but you want to have a beta, okay, and you want to test these kinds of things. So you offer not a wide variety, but at least a selection of games that require some sort of different inputs and lag. You have to try the whole spectrum. And that's what I'm saying. Because playing Halo is a different experience as opposed to playing a strategy game. Playing Halo is a different experience as opposed to playing, something like a analog shooter. It's something like that. You need to try these things to where you can give a nice opinion and nice feedback for the beta test. And when you're offering one game, I guess it's 5 games, but when you're offering one game, you can't get the feedback as opposed to offering a beta with at least 5 or 6 options. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Just
yeah.
Well, it's a shame. Hopefully they open that up soon to more games, because, for us iPhone, iPad guys, it'd be nice to try out some other stuff and, give them some feedback too, because obviously they want to improve the service. And, we'll be keeping tabs on that in any case. But yeah, we'll move on to another piece of news that broke a few days ago, actually. And it seems as if Sony is struggling with the pricing for the PlayStation 5. Now, in a report from news outlet Bloomberg, because of supposedly the scarcity in components, the manufacturing costs for the PlayStation 5 will bring the cost of the console to, about $450 per unit, effectively forcing it would set up something where the price setting decisions would be set it up against the competition like the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Now, according to people who obviously do not want to be named, because they're talking in private here, secrecy, Sony is taking the wait and see approach. supposedly. Now, guys, what do you make of this? As obviously we've been waiting to see Sony reveal the actual console for a while now, and we've only really been getting like little tidbits that they've been dropping to us. And really, I really want to see the console. Now, do you think that it's possible to see the PS5 manufacture for about, let's say, the 450 as they're saying? And, what do you think it'll retail for?
So I'm sold on the either I think it's going to be $500, but okay. So this isn't news coming from Sony. And if you guys remember correctly, but $450 isn't too bad considering the track record in Sony's in terms of Sony. But if you remember correctly, again, the PS2 was like a $20 or $30 profit margin or something like that from its actual retail price. And then they lost an enormous amount of money when it came to the PlayStation 3 because of the cell processor. And at the time, Sony's Blu-ray technology, which was going to be eventually obsolete due to the digital content, unfortunately. But that's why they were losing and they're vast amounts of money because of the cell processor. And I think I have it right here, what Sony's chief financial officer stated. Let's see here. Yeah. So it said, we must keep PS5's bill of materials under control, and we need to make sure the correct number of units in the initial production. And basically what that means for those who run businesses and stuff like that, or are business owners, you can't go out and just purchase things in one sitting. Why? Because of operating costs, cost of goods, and other expenses. They'll just be astronomical. On top of that, parts and materials become cheaper over time. So which is why Nintendo is really good at what they do. I don't know, they upgrade their technology, especially in the handheld market, because those parts become cheaper over time. So Nintendo is able to make a higher profit margin off those types of items. So again, if you're spending $80 on a CPU, I'm just giving you an example. If you're spending $80 on a CPU and later on it becomes $60, obviously your profit margins would be greater because, it'll be less because inventory depreciates, and if anybody knows what inventory depreciation is, it basically means the age of the actual inventory that you're purchasing. The longer it stays like in a warehouse or in a retail shelf, et cetera,
the more it depreciates, right?
Yeah, the item depreciates over time, and few things become more outdated than electronics. And I think you guys would agree with that. But that's how it works. So I think that's what Sony's doing, is they're kind of waiting and seeing what Xbox is going to do with the cost of the system. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be whether or not this price point is very important because it could turn the tide. And you've seen what Xbox 360 did early on in the generation compared to the PlayStation 3, and how important that price point was to the business.
Absolutely.
I know that was a long-winded explanation, but yeah.
Well, of course, what you're saying is true. I mean, you look at the start of this generation back in 2013, where, Microsoft was $100 more, the Xbox One than the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 in 2013, the retail price $399. It was $381 to manufacture. So that was their first console they actually made a profit off of. I think they took losses on the other three beforehand, but they made that console to be profitable because I think they lost millions upon millions, if not billions, on the bloody cell processor and the PS3 and other
Invader, even the PlayStation 2, because At the time, it offered the DVD drive,
Mhm.
and they were able to make a little bit more profit on the system when you can include the network adapter that was attached in the back, and that was part of their profits. But overall, the PlayStation 2 was an extremely expensive system. Like I said, that really offered only like a 20 or 30% profit margin on that system. And when the Slim came out, the PS2 Slim, you can see what it did to their profit margin on those systems, um, which was greater because Sony was able to go out and get those parts for cheaper in a smaller condensed version of the system.
Mhm. No, absolutely too. Yeah, you got the Blu-ray drive in there as well. For
Yeah.
the PS3. Yeah, they were taking hits. They were taking massive hits, hoping things would catch on. With the PS3, didn't catch on as quickly, but eventually they did end up making a profit towards the end. But yeah, this gen though, they've been doing very well. It would just be interesting to see though with the pricing, because obviously if they're gonna wait for Microsoft, it's playing the waiting game here. It's gonna be interesting. Be interesting to see if they do take the loss, if it's competitive for them to do that, and how long they are gonna wait.
So you're gonna see here real quick, if the Xbox Series X comes out at $500, Sony's gonna sell their system at $500.
Mhm.
If it comes out cheaper than that, Sony has no choice. They have no choice but to take a loss on these systems. So it's just it's the waiting game. It just depends how much these systems are going to be, and who comes out with the right price for consumers.
Absolutely. And I do have a feeling it is going to come out to be both systems at about 500. Obviously, everybody is touting that the Xbox Series X is going to be at the very minimum slightly more powerful than the PS5. And if they have that power advantage plus the price, that's some going into next generation, that's some very powerful messaging to use to consumers right off the bat.
You think that's enough though for Microsoft to start outselling the PlayStation initially, or
okay? I don't think so, because like I said, Sony has a hold on the world market, and Xbox is more everything's just US, and that some of that's trickled down into Europe too, but Sony's just they're world dominant in terms of console sales.
What if you take a game like Halo and they kill it?
Because Halo first person shooters, and it's more accepting now worldwide than it was back then, but first person shooters don't have a stranglehold on the market. Only US really. So when you look at these first person games, adventure, action RPG, those games do better overseas as opposed to first person shooters.
Sports.
Where it's kind of a US thing.
Definitely. No, you make a good point there, Jeremy. The games that they launch with, like the genres, they are going to be very important too. I mean, I would definitely,
but not so much just the PvP aspect. I'm just talking about the story of Halo. Like, are you thinking the single player experience is what has the market right now, or what do you think what would it take?
Well, you need that's why Phil's going out buying these other studios in different. I don't know if they stopped now, but they need a different studio. Maybe it's a Japanese studio to kind of bring people in to where they're going to get some traction in some of these harder markets that Xbox does not have a foothold in.
Well, he does keep talking about recently looking into Asian studios. So I have a feeling he's just not saying that for the sake of it. I do think there's interest there, but You know, it would be nice if they bought From Software or something like that, but that would be a pipe dream.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream. I wish.
Mm-hmm.
For Microsoft to totally convince people to start buying Xboxes over PlayStations, one major hurdle they gotta get over is this generation really set the bar for the digital ecosystem. People are now invested in the brands that they chose by having digital libraries. I have hundreds of games on Xbox and I have less than 10 on my PlayStation digital library for a reason. So it's going to be really hard to convince people, for starters, to want to leave hundreds of games behind to switch ecosystems. That's where you're going to have to, instead of playing it like you got to get them from switching one brand to another, you just have to get them to want to participate in your brand as well. And that's by giving them not just one game to gravitate around like Halo Infinite, but to have a launch lineup that's diverse enough to give something to everyone, and hope that PlayStation doesn't have as much as you do. And we've seen it in the past where PlayStation will launch lacking games. And that's where Microsoft really, I hope, if PlayStation lacks on launch titles in general, Xbox could gain some ground by having games already lined up to give people software to play on these newer systems.
Now, if it's a 10 million, even 20 million deficit, Xbox is in a great position. However, if it's going to be another massacre like it is this generation, we're talking anywhere upwards from 50 to 60 million units deficit, that's where it's just going to become embarrassing at this point. So all the stuff that Centurion said, they could make headwind. Xbox could make headwind in closing a gap, and then that's a big win. Even if it's 10 million deficit, 20 million deficit, it's still a win for Xbox because it was able to capture some of those consumers that were lost in the last generation, or they had in the last generation, as opposed to this generation.
Should we even be worrying about sales of the hardware? Or now, everyone from both Sony and Microsoft,
that's what I was about to.
It's users. So
I was about to say that we're probably not going to see hardware sales anymore of hundreds of millions like we have seen in the past with the Sony brand. And that's just because I hate. Let's just put it this way: I hate using the word casual, because that, in my opinion, doesn't really fit. If somebody plays hardcore on a cell phone, hey, that's cool. You just choose the game on a cell phone. That doesn't make you a cat.
Maybe it counts.
See, that's the thing. You've spent an absorbent amount of money on Gears Pop. I'm sorry, but that puts you in the hardcore category. But because you game on a cell phone, apparently that's a casual category. And that's where I have issues with just kind of putting that word label of casual on people. But the people who that buy these game consoles just to be able to play some of these games find out that they can play some of these games in streaming services sooner than later. In some services it's day and date, and other services it could be 6 months to a year. But the point is, if you hold out long enough, you don't need to buy the hardware. And that's where you're going to have consumers that are going to hold to that ideal that they don't need to go out and get hardware. They can just play it on their cell phones, or if the Samsung thing turns out to be true, they can play it on their Samsung television. So you're going to see hardware sales dip a little bit, in my opinion, because there's going to be people that would rather just buy gaming a la carte than just go out and buy these full-blown consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, and also you look at, these companies, both Microsoft and Sony, they want to take less pressure off of the console sales. They want to put it more on the ecosystem itself, selling that. Obviously, we talk about the XCloud, Sony has PS Now. They all want to put more emphasis on that and selling software rather than hardware. I mean, hey, hardware is beautiful, but they want to get more people invested in that ecosystem. So it would be very interesting to see going forward again how the prices play out, both with the PlayStation 5, if it is true about the manufacturing issues, and if they wait for Microsoft to to make the first move on the price. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that, fellas. But you know what? We will move on from this and we will go on to another bit of hardware news, an interesting tidbit, actually, of news. And who would have thought that a $200 controller would be selling so well? And according to sales tracking firm NPD Group, the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller has been selling like hotcakes. It is the best-selling video game accessory for the third month in a row, and it has already been dubbed the fifth top-selling gaming accessory of all time in the US. Which, hey, that is very impressive when you take into account that the controller came out in November of last year, only again like 3-4 months ago. So, guys, are you surprised by the sales milestone of the controller of the Elite Series 2?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised, especially at that price point. $180. Someone's not going to go out and just buy it. Okay, I'm going to buy a $180 controller, but apparently they do. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised by it. But I think the key thing to take away from this is, because it's, you can now use it on PC and you can use it on your Android phone. You can't use it on iOS right now, but you can use it on your Android phone. And then you can also use it, obviously, playing the Xbox. But, I think the concept of, just in general, what it's able to do is important. So I think they're going to make more of these controllers. Maybe 2, 3, and 4 might come out, but who knows?
Absolutely. And what I get is that people they really love to configure their controllers. Obviously the Series X, the Elite Series it has a personal touch to it. You can customize it, you can switch out whatever you want. There's that touch to it. There's a personalization, and even though it is more expensive, there's that premiumness to it, and really it helps enhance your gaming experience overall. I think people are just really looking to enhance it. And
do we all own one yet? I don't have one yet. I think I don't know why. I just haven't clicked the button to order it. I still have my Elite, the original Elite controller. Both actually have the Gears of War Elite and the.
Why do I think you purchased one? I could have sworn you were showing one off.
No, I have to though. I don't know why.
Dude, he took that photo with it on the hood of his Bentley.
funny. But I'll order it, man. They've improved things about it, and too. You think they can't get any better with that controller they have? They did improve the grips; they don't come off anymore. They did something with the bumpers up top. They shaved them down a little bit. I think I remember what David said, and then you can shift key almost with that, right? You can actually hit one of the flippers, whatever how you want to program it to actually.
Yeah, you get to program it to do whatever.
That's an awesome piece of hardware, man. And the quality control and what they do in the customer service. You heard David when he came on the show. You can literally just let him know, give him the serial number, send it in. They'll send you another one. They try to rectify the problem. Like that's something that not only did they do, they came up with this product they really care about. They care. And it shows, and people are still willing to buy it. And you get what you pay for. So, and I need to order one right away.
Yeah, piggybacking off to what you just said, I had an issue with my Elite controller when it came in, my Elite controller 2 when it came in. Well, the problem was the right trigger was clicking in. So I don't know if it was dropped or something happened to where it was sticking almost, and there was a clicking sound on the right trigger. So what I did was just contact David. I let him know what was going on. And right away, he was like, dude, just send me it. I want to do experiments on it and kind of dissect it a little bit. And I'm going to send you the one I have. He was going to send me a new one in the office and just take care of me real quick. And these are the kinds of things that just Sony doesn't do, and for him to go out of his way and just to give me one of his own Elite controllers, send mine back, have him work on it. That's a level kind of, just a different level of customer service you can't get anywhere else. So I personally didn't end up sending it back. And the reason being was because it has 3 trigger modes. And what I did was I just left it on the 2 setting, which is a shorter version of the, the trigger functionality. So I just left it at that. And I can just live with it like that, because whether you're using the half motion or the quarter motion or the full motion, each motion is the same. Meaning, if I use the quarter motion and on Forza, I was playing a driving game, and if you push it down more, the acceleration goes faster. But not the case with the Elite 2, because even if you're using the quarter trigger, you can still go full speed. So I was able to live with the half speed on it at all times.
Awesome. And let's not forget that they also include now the built-in rechargeable battery, which lasts forever from what I'm hearing. Yeah. And they have the tension in the sticks. I guess they have it to where the 360s were, all the way up to where you can make it even tighter. So they did a hell of a job with this, and it doesn't surprise me at all. So kudos to them, and my future purchase of the Elite series. I guess it's the 2, Elite 2. What do they call it officially? I don't even remember.
The Elite Series 2, yeah.
Okay.
But it's funny, Starbuck United in the chat. I will wait for the next Elite controller model. I guarantee they'll make another before end of the first year of the Series X console launch.
I hope they make a custom one, maybe like a Halo or a Forza. I'll buy them both. Maybe I should wait until the Series X, and maybe they'll make an announcement on stage at E3 this year, and I'll pre-order that right away.
And I don't know how you can improve this version. It'd be, I don't know.
Well, what would you add? What more, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's one of those things where what can you add to make it better?
What's left? An LCD screen, a speaker, and a microphone. Because he said, he's done. I mean, he's went over everything and took out notes and go back and listen to that show. I don't remember which one it is, but if you guys are listening, it was real. David Preen was an awesome guy to have on, and if you guys can catch that show again, it'll be great. A lot of real informative.
But yeah, I do remember that show vividly, and we touched on a lot with them about what they could have added. Do they take any hints from the other big console makers and so on? And it just it's interesting. It's interesting how they decide to evolve and change and make things better. You could even
charge the damn controller in the case. You just, like he said, he was surprised how people were using the case and everything. You put your controller in there, plug it in, and it's just it's a perfect. They did a hell of a job with this thing, man. And I just keep thinking of things, as we're. Go ahead.
Funny short story, real quick. So I have my the USB for the Series 2 controller hooked up to the back of the TV, and the rumble feature in it. Every time I turn on the TV, it sounded like, I don't know if you guys remember those old TVs where you turn on the old TV and you hear a. So I'm like, what the hell, is my TV broken? But it was actually the Elite controller rumbling inside the holder when it went off. So I thought my TV was broken, but it ended up being the rumble feature inside the case. Anyway, I wanted to share that. It
wasn't. I figure out what kind of television you had to make that sound. So I remember
You don't remember the older TVs?
I had like a whining noise when you turned it off. It was like a boing. Like it doesn't sound like that, but it was a real high pitch whining noise as you were turning it on and off. But that's
dude, we're talking about those old TVs that were like huge and microwave size. You know, it just I don't know.
Listen to the rich kid here. I was sorry. I was poor. I had a Viewmaster or whatever, Viewfinder, and that was my thing.
Well, you just wait the next Elite Series 3 you watch, it'll be an extra $100. So you better start saving up your pennies for a $300 controller.
And it's gonna sell.
Yeah, it will sell. All right, guys. I think we're gonna move on to the next topic, and it's gonna be our last topic for the evening. And it's something that I think a lot of people were suspecting. And it looks like Anthem will be getting a massive overhaul. Now, in a blog post, BioWare general manager Casey Hudson confirmed that a long-term redesign for Anthem is in the works, touching on the game's issues that are still, well, really problematic. And he went on to say, we recognize that there's still more fundamental work to be done to bring out the full potential of the experience, and it will require a more substantial reinvention than an update or expansion. Now, that's pretty significant. And supposedly the studio wants to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards. So, fellas, how do you feel about BioWare going back to the drawing board with Anthem? And I know a few of you, or at least I'm pretty sure a few of you have played Anthem, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Jeremy, didn't you play it?
Your mic's muted, Jeremy.
Jeremy.
I love it.
So I have some significant hours on Anthem, but I really enjoyed Anthem. I enjoyed the gameplay loop. Did I think it would be received the poor reception it did receive when it was released? No, because I thought BioWare would just knock it out of the park with Anthem. And you guys seen how ambitious the game was, whether it was like a E3 trailer presentation. Anthem looked really sharp at that time. But if you guys remember, Anthem got off to probably the worst start a game could possibly go through in video game history. The game was broken in many cases, and it was sad because I truly enjoyed like the flight mechanics, the combat mechanics, but the insane amount of bugs, the latency issues with it, the frame rate drops, the stuttering, the inconsistent loop drops, loading time, just everything. It was disaster. And there was one point where I purchased some in-game content. I don't know if Centurion didn't know, but Invader, you remember when I purchased Anthem, I bought some in-game currency that never showed up on my profile. So I purchased like $40 worth of content. And I went off the deep end on Twitter. I was putting them on blast, and I stood literally, it took me 3 weeks to get back those gems or whatever what you want to call it from EA. And EA has the worst customer service. If you ever have to, for those who have dealt with EA has the worst customer service of all time. So I really believe like BioWare will knock it out of the park this time around. But will it be enough, to move over some players to feel like they got cheated, like myself? Only time's gonna tell with this product. But you guys have played Anthem, and I think you guys really enjoyed that gameplay loop in it, and it's a very ambitious title. I think if they square away a few things, whether it's making the gameplay mechanics a little bit tighter, solid storyline. And the stories wasn't bad. It was actually a good story,
I
but
barely remember the story though. I mean, it was a long time.
yeah, but yeah, I hope for the best.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to go down memory lane, but Anthem had a very massive production hiccup and all sorts of crap. Like, for starters, at least from what we read, they kept the team so divided that literally the
Yeah.
person who was making the vegetation and the actual environments for the game didn't know what the characters even look like that were going to be in these environments. There was a huge communication breakdown. The communication broke down so much that nobody even knew what they were creating. At the time, the game was actually called something else other than Anthem. It was called Beyond.
Yes, it was
I believe.
Beyond.
And they didn't know what this game was going to look like until that fateful day at E3 when the BioWare guy came out and showed us that amazing trailer that ended up being nothing like the game we got. In the trailer, it showed them picking up loot drops and using them right away. It showed the walkers or the stalkers or whatever they called them that they would launch from, more active and more mobile through the environments.
Yeah.
But in the game we got, they were stationary. There's just a lot of things that were advertised to us that were completely different than what we got. Hearing what you went through, Downer, about having $40 worth of currency disappear, I lucked out in the fact that you guys have met my brother Stain Zombie that night playing World War Z, and he bought 2 copies of the Legion of Dawn edition digitally, one for me and one for him. One was for my birthday, and I was really grateful. And I actually got the Legion of Dawn skins.
I didn't get them
exactly, but for him they were glitched, and they wouldn't work. And still to this day, he has not received them. Even though he bought the Legion of Dawn edition, he still to this day has not received the Legion of Dawn skins, and they are bugged on his version of the game. Is this enough? I really hope that whatever they do is enough to resurrect this, because I don't want to see the company like BioWare disappear. Anthem had a great mechanic. Yes, the story could have used a little bit more to it. It'd be great if they added on to the story as time goes, because there's potential there. But still, the mechanic was great. There's nothing like climbing in a suit, flying around. I mean, there is not a game right now that will give you that experience of being even a javelin.
Yeah, it did feel fun. I mean, you would go.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was. You would go from underwater and back out, and it felt really great. I remember
the graphics were amazing too. Some of these the level design was good too.
Well, speaking of level design, that's why some of the levels you can't fly around in, because again, this is where communication breakdown and production issues. It started off with, hey, let's make a flying mechanic, and then they got rid of the flying mechanic. Well, one of the guys who was in charge of the whole project over at EA got a hold of the version of the game with the flying mechanic in it and said, like, no, let's put the flying mechanic back in. And now all of a sudden the flying mechanic is back, and they've put level designs out that involve these small corridors that you can't fly down. They were meant for you to be on the ground. So that's why it always feels mixed up. Like moment
I actually liked the mix. I actually enjoy the mix. Some of the closed corridors and inside the game, which kind of instead of just flying, it's a different element of gameplay, which I enjoy. So,
but that's why some of the map areas though feel that way, like they're not. It's like all of a sudden the gameplay changes.
Yeah, and you were talking about how one group had the vegetation, one group had the characters. For a large team, for those who understand how games are made, that's how games are made. One person does the, some people do the animation, some people do the art direction, some people do the mocap. And if you have a big studio such as BioWare, and I think this is why maybe the coalition and 343 is having a rough go with Gears and Halo series, where you get these such big projects, and you hear about the stories where Halo is coming up on a $500 million budget. There's communication breakdown that happens, maybe more so in other studios when you don't have a solid leadership foundation. But I think that's what Anthem went through, what Centurion said, to where, you heard these horror stories where people didn't know what was going on with the game. When you don't have a leader that takes charge and is in their hand, basically micromanaging every single aspect of the business, then you see what can come about it when EA dishes out products like Anthem. And I just hope that it doesn't happen with 343 taking on something like Halo.
It's those project managers, man, get on them. Spend
Yeah.
all that money.
Well, that was the thing, though, because Casey Hudson, he was originally he was at Microsoft for a little bit with Xbox Game Studios, and he was brought back, as Fastback was saying, to kind of reel in Anthem and get it under control, because it was not good for the years that it was in development. They had to really string it. And apparently, for the last year was when everything came together.
Oh, dude, development for that game was just completely, an actual cluster F, if you know what I mean. Like, it spent 4 to 5 years in pre-production, and they built the entire game in somewhere around 18 months because they knew they had a deadline to have this game done for EA. But
it's not so much for EA. It was for their investors.
Well, yeah, but they had a deadline that they had to meet.
Right.
And it just, when you spend 4 years in pre-production, like, can you imagine having 4 years go by and all you have is concepts and drawings and ideas? You don't have any actual fleshed out ideas that you can put eyes on. And that right there is a big problem. And when you're going to slap a game together in 18 months, especially using an engine that you're inexperienced with, creating a game genre that you know nothing about, because we're putting BioWare in charge of a looter shooter. There was just a lot of obstacles in the way of this becoming a success.
Mm-hmm.
And when you cater to, I'm sorry, Invader, but when you cater to investors, there's the stress behind that is immense. And if you have a deadline of February 5th, I'm just giving you an example, February 15th, and you have 2 years to build this game when it's going to take 3 or 4 years to build, you have that kind of stress when because you have to appease to the investors, which isn't a good work environment. And you see what kind of...
Well, they delayed Anthem, so they were even under more of a microscope after they delayed it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, so, absolutely.
But it's projected inside these, whether it's going to be the 2019 projections for the fiscal year. Anyway, I don't want to get into stocks.
Let's just be happy with the fact that I'm sorry, Invader. I was just going to say, let's be happy with the fact that this is a game that was designed by EA that could have been essentially thrown in the trash and moved on. But they're willing to do what is essentially is right and actually try to save it.
I disagree, because it was so poorly received, meaning there was some serious backlash and ramifications that would take place to BioWare and EA if they didn't fix Anthem. Meaning, meaning there was such an uproar on social media and on Reddit and other platforms to where they had no choice, to both appease to their investors, to the customers, to fix Anthem, because nobody will ever buy another EA product again for as long as they live, because of the experience they had with Anthem.
Well, also,
and I was at that point too, where I was like, "Fuck EA." I'm not buying shit from them, and I haven't bought anything from them since.
Well, I feel like I got the double whammy, because I was actually a huge Mass Effect Andromeda fan, And when they completely, canned all support for Mass Effect Andromeda outside of some very small, loose multiplayer support, you saw all the potential to expand the single player experience of Mass Effect Andromeda, and they just threw it all in the trash just because of how the game is received. So, in my opinion, also, if they would have tried to do that a second game in a row, because it was Mass Effect Andromeda, and then you had Anthem come out of BioWare, so to do 2 games in a row where you just completely abandon, I completely would change the name BioWare forever.
And you don't get a third chance in this industry. They struck out with Mass Effects and Andromeda. They struck out with Anthem. Very few developers and publishers get this kind of chance. With BioWare, what BioWare's doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you guys, you speak of chances too, and there's been a few titles, highly touted titles that have come and gone that they came out too early. They had similar issues. You look at No Man's Sky, for example, and it didn't work. It was glitchy, it was missing content, and just a whole boatload of issues. And they did the same thing. They went on like a media silence for, let's say, 6 to 8 months. And they said, hey,
hiding, man.
Yeah.
No, that dude, he straight up admitted that sometimes silence is being better than trying to stand in front of the barrage that awaits you from both the media and the fans.
But they turned things around. They had a slew of updates, including like a big next update that did significantly well for them. And the game has, it's turned itself around, and there's a lot more positivity about it. But only so many games have that chance and that window to do so.
Yeah. So there was a couple. When you look at the aesthetics of both Anthem and No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky you can see the ambition in the product, and the same thing with Anthem. And I think that's what is giving these games a second wind. No Man's Sky, you've seen the potential. When I played No Man's Sky early on, and you've seen the potential that this game had, and the gameplay loop, and some of the things that you can do with the entire universe of both Anthem and No Man's Sky. And it's, again, like you said, it's very rare for these games to get a second wind like these games have. But I think when you have a good gameplay mechanic like Anthem has, and you're an ambitious title like No Man's Sky was, I think it gives these games a second wind, and that's why you see it with Anthem.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And they're lucky. I mean, BioWare does have to fix this. They have this core group of fans that, they love their Mass Effect Andromeda, their Mass Effect series. It's unfortunate what happened with Andromeda, but you look at, they have a new Dragon Age title in the works, and they have a lot of expectations. And then you look at, again, what happened with Andromeda, what happened with Anthem. There's a lot riding here. So I guess they felt like they had to go back to the drawing board in order to, I guess, reel in these fans again for their upcoming projects.
Is it even worth it? I mean, are people still playing Anthem?
Yeah, there's a small amount of people. It still has like its core players playing the game, and there's still an audience for it, but it's shortening up quick here.
There's still a major amount of people out there, though, that do own the title both digitally and physically. And if they have a relaunch of the game, I know there's going to be enough community curiosity to want to check it out.
Which is weird, because these same people just went apeshit on social media, regarding the game.
Mm-hmm. But can you really blame them? I mean, like the way that the game launched, even months afterwards, like it was unplayable in certain instances, and just the content itself. Like, don't get me wrong, if you enjoy the game, like that's totally fine. It's just, there was a lot left to be desired with Anthem, and I definitely want to see it come back to life. It's an IP that you see the potential there, and there's so much more that they could do with it, especially like a studio like BioWare. There's so much talent there. There's so much history, and they could definitely breathe new life into it. And I hope Casey Hudson, they have something planned that can really breathe new life into this game, because like you said, there's millions of copies sitting there, whether digitally or physically, that, EA knows that, hey, you know what, we need to fire this player base up because there's just like a lot of untapped potential there.
All right,
when Hudson said what keeps us going is the support from players like you, no, sorry, Casey, but dude, your feet were to the fire and to the grill for, how long has it been? A year?
A year, basically, since it launched. Basically,
your feet was to the fire, and you were doing the right thing, and you took a lot of heat, and now you got to live with those results and try to resurrect what should have been. Again, I'm sorry, but you rarely get third chances in this industry. And if you screw up, whether it's the next Mass Effect or any other BioWare game, you're finished. Sorry.
What would you guys prefer? A much better Mass Effect or Anthem, if you had to choose one or the other?
Well, of course, Mass Effect.
Mass Effect, yeah. Now, here's my question on: have you guys seen or heard of a game that is going to receive the overhaul that Anthem is potentially looking at receiving? We know No Man's Sky got an update and had content added to it, but we're talking overhaul. Anthem needs an overhaul. It needs programming fixes. It's got bugs. It's got loading issues. The game needs a full-blown rework, and I'm trying to think of a game that requires that much. That much has happened in history.
Wasn't there a Final Fantasy game that had to be basically redone because it was just so bad, and they had to go back to the drawing board with it? I think it was called a Realm Reborn or something, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
Final Fantasy, yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think one of the Diablo games was in really, really bad shape.
Oh, you mean the Diablo mobile game? No, I'm playing.
What else? You can maybe Destiny. Destiny was in pretty bad shape but again, that game
for them it was a content update.
Anthem, though.
Well, yeah, for it's a content.
Anthem.
That's a lot of games that we're talking about have been fixed with a content update. I'm talking full blown. Hey, we have to go in and the game could look totally different by the time they're done.
Yeah,
you're talking about an overhaul. How much is it going to cost? Though, I mean, so now is this going to be like some paid overhaul? I mean, is it going to be?
Yes. Well, some of that money is generated from their in-game currency that they currently sell inside the game. Some of that money, that's what microtransactions do for a game, where it gives it a little bit more flexibility. And FIFA, there's such a cash cow as FIFA. EA has FIFA. Some of that money is being pulled from FIFA, no doubt. To get some of these, to get Anthem up and rolling.
I will say the Anthem rework will probably go down as one of the biggest game patches we have ever seen.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're gonna download it again, it's gonna be a complete rework, just a complete download in general. I think you're right.
There's one game I know they did a rework on, and that was Sea of Thieves. And when they did the rework, they made you re-download the game again from scratch. But because of the rework, the game was actually less in size.
Don't even get me started on Sea of Thieves. To me, that was in a worse condition than Anthem was.
Oh my god!
Yeah, don't get me started on Sea of Thieves.
I love to start to defend this, but then I think
you can't even defend. You can't defend it.
Well, I could definitely say I didn't have any of the sharks or skeletons glitch out to where they were infinitely spawning from location, and you could just sit there and farm XP like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right. You just couldn't join in a game and
And also, I didn't have to worry about Anthem cooking. I mean, not Anthem. Sea of Thieves cooking my console.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that was a very one in between. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Sea of Thieves was a disaster.
Stop it.
Sea of Thieves. We need to get
You just
back
need
on
to play
that.
with good friends, Downer.
We
No,
need to get
I
back on
played-
You
that.
know what? Just drink
We
your
can
glass of
even
green Kool-Aid and join us on Sea of
Listen,
Thieves.
No.
I promise I'll stay awake. We can play these either
No.
Bleeding Edge after
And
the
do me a
show.
favor.
we
Do me
can
a
play
favor.
Bleeding Edge after the show, or we'll do Sea of Thieves, man.
Whatever you do not play Sea of Thieves with Tim. He is the worst fucking Sea of Thieves player, probably in the history of Sea of Thieves. And we're talking.
Tell us how you really feel.
I have to say the
Oh
best
my
person I ever
God.
played with was Rand. Back in the day, we were playing with Phil, and he knew where every damn chest was. Like he would look at the map and know exactly where to go. Where I can't not figure out the damn treasure map. If the lines were on the ground, I probably still couldn't figure out where the hell the treasure is, man. Like I just get confused and get lost in my own house. So there you go. A big
Yeah,
house.
we definitely got to get on Sea of Thieves at some point. I know we keep talking
Yeah,
about
sorry.
it, but too bad. All right. Anything else to add to that, guys? Or
yeah. Sea of Thieves sucks.
Oh,
You know, if we ever play Sea of Thieves with Downer, something tells me he's going to end up in the brig. Has anybody seen Downer? Yeah, he's down below.
he's got my vote on that one.
no,
I've actually been thrown in the brig a couple times because I was just
Actually,
I was trashing the game while I was playing.
Downer's trashing today's game so hard. I'm actually going to put him in the brig, and then I'm going to sink
That's
the
how you
ship with him down
christen
there.
the boat. Is that like some people will take a bottle of champagne and hit the bow across? No, you christen every time we go out to sea. We have to put him in the brig first, and then that's how we start the game that way.
I got
To be-
dibs on throwing up on him first.
And you know what? I think I'm famous at Rare. I think they have my picture and they throw darts at the picture because when Sea of Thieves released, I destroyed the game. I made an example of them on social media, and they deserve every minute of it.
It's a great game. It's a great game. It's a great experience.
Oh my
I
god!
I wish that I had more time to play. My son absolutely loves this game.
Yeah, it's such a good
And,
experience. You fall asleep
I mean,
during the
it
entire
was-
experience. Sorry.
With those long work hours, man. I hear you. It was bad. And it's not the first time too. And
I'll tell you, if Downer ever plays Sea of Thieves with me, I will change his opinion.
No, I've played a lot of hours and you can't. I mean, you've read my little blog thing.
Yeah, I read your article.
trash. Damn your opinion.
I felt like I felt like I needed a stiff drink after I read Downer's article. Like, wow, that was, man, I like Sea of Thieves. I've bought 2 copies.
I think you're the only one. Let's get.
No, actually, check this out. So I bought the physical copy day 1. So
sorry.
I am a day 1 adopter of Sea of Thieves physical,
Yeah.
and then I ended up buying it digital so that way me and my wife could game share it.
Yeah.
nice.
You guys got duped too. You're like, okay, we're releasing the game on this date, but the following year we're gonna release the real game. This is gonna be the real Sea of Thieves. Come on, guys. You guys got fooled.
See, for me,
In fact-
I wanted
in
to
fact-
support a developer that I have been playing their games since I was old enough to hold a Nintendo 64 controller, and I at least wanted to support an idea that came out of those who have actually kind of led the way for some of the greatest platform games we've ever played.
You know what?
I understand you bought a $60 beta. It's fine.
You know what? I agree. I do agree with you on that, like nostalgia factor, Centurion, because I bought it day 1 too. I did get it on a bit of a sale, though, I'll admit, through Amazon. But Rare is a much different place now than where it was like years upon years ago. Like the games that we remember, and I love supporting Rare, but at the same time, it's just Rare's in a different place right now too.
A bad.
Oh
thing.
yeah, definitely. No, I definitely would agree.
Jeremy will not let up.
No, I definitely would agree, but
Mhm.
I definitely wanted to at least support a title that Microsoft believed in,
No,
Phil Spencer believed in.
A beta, you mean? Just say beta.
Sea
It's
of
okay.
Thieves is a gorgeous game. It's a wonderful, you get that wonderful sense of adventure.
Oh,
It
okay.
sounds good.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Wonderful sense of
Great
adventure.
streaming game.
Killing
It's
pigs and chickens. Okay, and all right.
you have a pet now, Jerry.
But you could definitely
use.
use Sea of Thieves as a great example, though, of how to do games as a service. It could have launched better, yes, but they also didn't just leave it behind. They consistently added content. They didn't charge people for that content. They've taken community input on the content that they've created. Sea of Thieves is a total different game from when it was first launched compared to when it was first created in the beta. I know there was things in the beta that weren't there during the launch, and they're still not there. I've heard there's like fish and dolphins that were supposed to be in the ocean.
Yeah. Yep.
But for the most part, though, I've seen certain games that come out for $60 that should have been a beta and were not maintained on the scale or level that Sea of Thieves has received.
Did you?
No.
Did you guys see that new chest they got? That you I guess you have to keep throwing water on it. If not, it explodes or sets your entire boat on fire. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
I've seen that. That's so awesome to me, man. And you could actually use it as a weapon, just kind of take out everybody else. Like, you could actually take that to the opposing team's boat if you're being attacked, and just kind of. I love what they do with that damn game, man. I can't get enough of the new things that they're adding to it. Unfortunately, again, I don't play it, but I love it. Figure it out, But I do love the game. Just shut up.
Nobody else plays it too. You go down your friends list. Nobody else plays that fucking game.
No,
I actually see people
what?
on my friends list playing it.
You know what? That's
I
not
have like
true.
500 people on my friend, and not maybe 1 or 2 people are playing it.
No, I know some people who play it religiously. It is like some people are pretty obsessed. It does have a fan base, so. But you know what, guys? Enough Sea of Thieves. We will definitely have a Sea of Thieves night one of these evenings. But you know what? We are going to wrap things up for this show. And hey, you know what, guys? A really big thank you to everyone that came out to watch us live. People like Valurian, hey, Fastback from NLG. Thank you very much for joining us. Who else did we got here? Stick Figga dropped by. Sticky from Australia. Thanks for dropping by, bud. Starbuck United, Dreadpool, Michael Doonan Jr., I believe that's Stained Zombie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's him.
Good stuff. He's a good fella. We played World War Z together. Logic Wins, and a whole bunch of other cool people. Yep. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, right. Dragons. Noof Nukem joined Born Distracted. Post Up. Thanks for joining, Post. We appreciate you coming. Paris was in here. Lots of cool people. Thanks for joining us live. It was definitely a pleasure for you being in the chat. And as well, to the people that watch us afterwards and on other audio platforms, thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, then drop a like and share this episode out if you enjoyed the banter and the content. Crew, excellent show this evening. Let's get to some of the outros. Centurion buddy, again, happy birthday to you. People in the chat, give him a really loud happy birthday in the chat. Where can everybody find you, bud?
Well, thank you. You gentlemen are too kind. Again, I really appreciate you giving me a happy birthday. It's awesome to actually be sitting here celebrating my birthday with you guys talking about games. So you guys can find me here every Sunday with you guys right here on TXR. I also do the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam on Saturdays and the Saltiest Gaming Podcast with Saltiest Gamer on Thursdays. I can also be found on Twitter, YouTube, and Xbox Live at Centurion1307.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. I hope you save some cake for later on.
Oh, yeah. Got cupcakes everywhere.
Nice.
All right. Well, share the wealth, buddy.
Will Customs even let me send you a cupcake to Canada?
Maybe. You never know.
Yeah, you just gotta. Yeah, it has to be handled correctly though.
Mm-hmm. I'll probably get it, and there'll be like a few bite marks in it. You watch.
Finger pokes. Make sure I'm not shipping you anything.
Yeah, good call. Megatron. Hey, good show, buddy. Love the sound of your new mic. Where can everybody find you?
As always, you can hit me up on Twitter, Megatron_1975, as well as you can find me on Xbox Live. Megatron1's my gamer tag, and even Mixer.
You can find him asleep.
I've been doing some streaming lately, so you can hit me up there and add me to that. And I do have someone playing Sea of Thieves on my friends list, Jeremy.
Oh,
so
the
there
one
you go.
person. All
that
right.
one I'm not going to say his name, but I'll show you later. That's it.
All right. And Jeremy, great show, bud. Where can everybody find you?
Well, I'll tell you where you can't find me. You won't find me on Sea of Thieves.
He's in the brig. He's there.
I'm gonna find some hacker to hack his console to where he can't play a single game until he does at least one quest in Sea of Thieves every single day.
Oh my god. You can find me on Xbox Live at Downer J. You can also find me on Twitter at LoneMasterWho07. And that's all she wrote.
Good stuff. And of course, I'm Invader. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Invader Gaming. I've been trying out some new content lately, so definitely check that out. And of course, I'm pretty active on Twitter at Invader_1986. Again, guys, thanks for joining in. It has been a blast, and we will see you next Sunday. Take it easy,
Happy
fellas.
birthday, Centurion.
Happy birthday, Centurion.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I feel like spotlighted.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh God.
Happy birthday to you.
You look like a